The chair scraped across the cafeteria floor just loud enough for the surrounding tables to hear. Ethan Caldwell's hand released it with practiced casualness, and he stepped back, folding his arms, waiting. Around him, 3 of his friends pressed their lips together, shoulders already shaking with the anticipation of watching the blind girl sit down on nothing. Lena Carter was 12 steps away. Her white cane moved in its quiet, steady arc. Her chin was level. Her blazer was pressed. She carried her lunch tray with one hand, the way someone carries something they have carried 1,000 times before, without thought, without hesitation. The cafeteria noise surrounded her like a river current, and she moved through it the way water moves around stone, unhurried, certain, already listening to things no one else in that room was paying attention to. She was 11 steps away. 10, 9. Ethan's smile widened. At 7 steps, Lena's cane completed its arc and found nothing where a chair leg should have been. A pause so brief that almost no one noticed it. Then she adjusted, one quiet step to the left, located the neighboring chair's position by the sound of its metal foot against marble, calculated the gap, and set her tray down with the same unhurried certainty she had carried through the door. She sat. She smoothed her blazer. She opened her water bottle. The table around Ethan went absolutely silent. He stared at her. She gave no indication she was aware of him at all, though she had identified exactly where he was standing from the moment she entered the cafeteria, by the sharp cologne he apparently wore in quantities that suggested deep personal insecurity, and by the low, performative murmur of his voice as he coached his friends before she arrived. She had heard every word of it from the doorway. She picked up her fork and began to eat.
Ethan's jaw tightened in a way that people close to him had learned to recognize as dangerous. He had expected an audience. He had expected the helpless flailing of someone caught off guard. What he got instead was a 16-year-old girl eating a Caesar salad with complete composure, and the quiet laughter he had prepared for himself dying in his throat before it ever formed. He walked away, telling himself it was nothing. He did not believe it. Over the following 2 weeks, Ethan's attempts grew more deliberate. A backpack placed inside a doorway she regularly used. A wet floor left unmarked near her locker. Small, deniable cruelties designed to be dismissed as accidents and witnessed by enough people to serve their purpose. Each time, Lena navigated around them with an unhurried precision that left audiences confused and left Ethan quietly furious. He was not accustomed to being ignored. He was not accustomed to failing in front of people. What Ethan did not understand, what he had never been required to understand, was that Lena Carter had been navigating a world built entirely for people with sight since she was 8 years old. That was when the diagnosis came. A rare degenerative condition, the doctor had explained gently, watching her parents hold each other's hands across the desk. Progressive, irreversible. Her vision had faded over 14 months, drawing a slow curtain across every color, every face, every morning sky she had loved. She had mourned it the way only a child can mourn, completely, with her whole body, pressing her face into her pillow at night until there was nothing left. And then she had decided to stop. Not to stop grieving. Grief visits on its own schedule and leaves when it is ready. But she decided to stop waiting for her life to resume once her vision returned, because her vision was not returning. She decided that whatever life she was going to build, she would build it now, in the dark, with whatever she had.
Her father found Master Haruki Sato through a quiet recommendation, a retired martial arts instructor who ran a small studio in a converted warehouse near the edge of the city. He was a man in his 60s, with unhurried eyes, and a way of speaking that suggested he had long ago stopped needing to prove anything to anyone. When Lena's father called and explained their situation, there was a pause on the line, And then Master Sato said simply, "Bring her on Saturday." Lena arrived expecting to be handled carefully. She arrived expecting modifications, adjustments, the soft lowering of expectations that well-meaning people had offered her since the diagnosis. Master Sato handed her a training uniform and pointed at the mat. "Your ears work," he said. "Your body works, your mind works. We will start there." What followed was 7 years of the most demanding and transformative discipline of her life. Master Sato did not teach around her blindness. He taught through it. He trained her to feel the displacement of air when a body shifted its weight nearby. He trained her to read the change in someone's breathing before an attack formed, to hear the subtle creak of a foot pivoting on a wooden floor, to sense the electromagnetic warmth of a person standing within striking distance. He trained her hands and feet to respond faster than thought, because in darkness there is no time for hesitation. By 14, she had earned her black belt in a room full of sighted competitors, none of whom she told about her condition until the examination was finished. The examiner had looked at her certificate and then at Master Sato with something close to disbelief. Master Sato had simply nodded once, as though the outcome had never been in doubt. By 16, she was training 3 mornings a week before school. None of this was visible at Redwood Prep. She had not come here to perform her resilience for anyone. She had come to study and to earn a future, and she intended to do exactly that. But Ethan Caldwell was building towards something, and the students who watched him knew it, and the dread of it had begun to settle over the school like weather. The assembly was his idea. Every year, Redwood Prep held a Spring Achievement Assembly in the main auditorium, a formal event attended by students, faculty, and parents. This year, Ethan had arranged through a series of favors and small manipulations for Lena to be invited to speak. The invitation had been framed as an honor, a welcome for a new scholarship student, an opportunity for her to introduce herself to the school community. The faculty member who passed it along genuinely believed it was well-intentioned. Ethan's plan was simple and cruel. He had arranged for her microphone to be turned off. He had arranged for a pre-recorded sound effect, the sound of someone stumbling, of scattered laughter, to play through the auditorium speakers 3 seconds after she reached the podium. He had told his friends, and his friends had told others, and by the morning of the assembly, more than half the student body knew something was going to happen to the blind girl on stage. They told themselves they were only watching. They told themselves they weren't responsible. They filed into the auditorium and found their seats and waited with the particular guilty excitement of people who have already decided not to intervene. Lena walked to the stage when her name was called. She found the stairs at the right side with her cane, climbed them steadily, and crossed to the podium. The auditorium was full. She could feel the density of it, the warmth of several hundred bodies, the low electrical hum of the sound system, the shallow breathing of an audience holding something in. She placed both hands on the sides of the podium and stood quietly for a moment. Then she reached forward and tapped the microphone once. Dead, just as she'd expected. She had arrived 30 minutes early that morning, alone, and had walked this stage in complete silence, mapping every inch of it. She had found the secondary audio panel behind the left curtain, and she had tested both microphone channels herself. She knew exactly what had been done and exactly who had arranged it.
She reached into the inside pocket of her blazer and produced a small wireless microphone, the kind used by the school's debate team, which she had quietly borrowed the previous afternoon. She clipped it to her lapel. Her voice, when she spoke, filled the auditorium with perfect clarity. "My name is Lena Carter," she said, "and I want to tell you something about what it means to fight in the dark." The silence that followed was the kind that happens when a room collectively realizes it has misjudged something important. She spoke for 12 minutes. She did not speak about her blindness as a tragedy. She spoke about it as a teacher, the hardest, most demanding teacher she had ever had. She spoke about Master Sato and the years on the mat, and the morning she had stood before an examination board and performed a full kata blindfolded while sighted competitors watched in silence. She spoke about arriving at Redwood Prep and hearing the pulled chair scrape across the cafeteria floor and choosing in that moment not anger but patience. "I have learned," she said, and her voice was steady and unhurried, "that the people who believe you are weak are usually the ones most afraid of finding out they're wrong." She paused. The auditorium was absolutely still. "I am not weak. I have never been weak, and I did not come here to prove that to anyone. I came here to learn. But if you need proof," she reached down and folded her cane, setting it against the podium with a quiet click, "I am happy to demonstrate." From the third row, Ethan Caldwell sat with his hands folded in his lap and said nothing. Around him, students who had laughed at his plan 2 days earlier were looking at their shoes. The sound effect he had arranged never played. The technician in the back had been watching Lena since she clipped on that microphone, and somewhere in the watching had quietly decided not to press the button. In the front row, the principal sat very still with the expression of a person who has just understood something they should have understood much earlier. After the assembly, a girl named Sophie, someone who had watched Lena from a distance since the first week of school, wanting to say something and never finding the courage, walked up to her in the hallway and said, "I should have said something sooner. I'm sorry I didn't." Lena turned toward the sound of her voice. "You're saying it now," she said. "That counts."
Ethan Caldwell was called to the principal's office that afternoon. His father was contacted. The board meeting that followed was long and uncomfortable, and when it was finished, certain privileges had been quietly revoked. Ethan said very little during any of it. He had the look of someone encountering, for the first time, the actual weight of a consequence. He was not expelled. He was not destroyed, but he was required, in writing, to attend a series of sessions with the school counselor, and he was required to sit across from Lena Carter in a mediated conversation and listen, truly listen, while she told him what his cruelty had felt like from where she was standing. He did not enjoy it, but he did not leave, and something in that room, quiet and difficult and real, was the beginning of a different kind of education. Lena finished her first year at Redwood Prep with the highest academic average in her class. She joined the debate team. She gave a second assembly address in the fall, this one invited, genuinely, by the student body, with every microphone in perfect working order. Master Sato attended that one. He sat in the back row with his hands folded and his face composed. When she finished, he nodded once, the way he always did when something had gone exactly as it should. She couldn't see it. She felt it anyway. If this story moved you, if Lena's quiet courage reminded you that strength is not always visible, that some of the most powerful people in the room are the ones the world has already underestimated, please take a moment to subscribe to Silent Paws and Brave Hearts. Every story we share here is a reminder that ordinary people carry extraordinary things inside them. Hit the subscribe button and the bell so you never miss a story that matters. Share this one with someone who needs to hear it today, because somewhere out there, someone is fighting in the dark, and they deserve to know that the world is watching, and the world is finally listening. What this story teaches us. This story carries real and lasting value beyond its emotional impact. For young viewers, it is a powerful lesson in resilience, that a disadvantage, when met with discipline and determination, can become a source of quiet, unshakable strength. Lena does not overcome her blindness. She builds a life alongside it, refusing to allow others to define her limits. For students and educators, the story is a direct and honest portrait of bullying, not the loud, obvious kind, but the calculated, socially protected cruelty that thrives in environments where privilege goes unchallenged. It shows what bystanders cost when they choose silence, and what a single act of honest courage, even one small apology in a hallway, can begin to repair. For parents, it is a reminder that children are shaped not by the absence of difficulty, but by what they are taught to do when difficulty arrives. And for every viewer of any age, Lena Carter's story carries perhaps the most important lesson of all, that the person you have decided to underestimate is often the person who has already survived everything you cannot imagine, and built something extraordinary in the quiet you never thought to look into.